Chapter 4, Mishnah 3. The previous Mishnah taught that there is a difference in regard to the laws of Tuma between a complete utensil that cracked and a broken utensil, Justera, that cracked. The Mishnah now teaches how big a break causes a utensil to be treated as a Justera rather than a complete utensil. What is a Justera? It might be called Gistera. What is a Gistera? That is, how much must a utensil break before it is no longer treated as a regular utensil, but only as a gistera? Any utensil whose handles have been removed. Although this utensil can still hold as much as it did before, it is considered broken because it can no longer be moved easily from place to place. The Mishnah now discusses which parts of a broken earthenware utensil, gistera, transmit tuma through airspace. If the top of a barrel broke off and it now has jagged edges coming out of it, the law is as follows. Any part of the jagged area that could hold olives, because the gaps between the pieces at that point are too small to let an olive through, transmits tuma through contact to food that touches it. And the space opposite this part, i.e. the space enclosed by the jagged pieces that can still hold olives, also transmits tuma through its airspace to food that enters it. The part of the jagged area that can still hold olives is still considered part of the container of the barrel. Therefore, if the barrel is tame, even this jagged part makes tame any food that either touches it or enters its airspace. However, any part of the jagged area that cannot hold olives, because the gaps between the jagged pieces at that point are large enough to let through olives, transmits tuma to food only through contact. But the space opposite this part, i.e. the space enclosed by these jagged pieces, do not transmit tuma through its airspace. Since this part cannot hold olives, it is not considered part of the container of the barrel and can therefore not transmit tuma through airspace. Nevertheless, it transmits tuma to food that touches it because it is considered a yad handle of this barrel, and the yad of an earthenware utensil transmits tuma by being touched. The Mishnah teaches that the same rule applies to a broken utensil that cannot be used in its upright position, but only while it is lying on its side. If a broken barrel was resting on its side like a cathedra, a seat enclosed on three sides and open only in the front, and the jagged edge of the break was facing upward, the law is as follows. Any part of the jagged area that can hold olives transmits tuma through contact, and the space opposite this part, i.e. the space enclosed by these jagged pieces, transmits tuma through its airspace as well. However, any part of the jagged area that cannot hold the olives transmits tuma only through direct contact, but the space opposite it does not transmit tuma through its airspace. Since this part of the broken half of the barrel cannot hold olives, it is not considered part of the container itself, and it therefore cannot transmit tuma through its airspace. Nevertheless, it transmits tuma to food that touches it because it is considered a yad handle of the broken half of the barrel, and the handle of an earthenware utensil transmits tuma to things that touch it. In Mishnah 1, we learn that a gistera becomes tame only if it can stand by itself without support. The Mishnah now teaches an exception to this rule. The pointed bottoms of Kufian utensils and the pointed bottoms of Sidonian kosim that are still intact after the rest of the utensil broke off, even though they cannot stand without being supported by something else, are nevertheless able to become tame because they were originally made to be used this way, by being supported by something else. Therefore, even though they are now only a gistera, they still become tame in this way.